Welcome everyone. This is part 9 of the Lewis Hamilton Time Trial Challenge with Nick McCosy. And it's been a while since the last episode, or part in that case. But we've had other things going on in real life and the FI Gran Turismo Championship, so we had to have a small break from this Lewis Hamilton Time Trial Challenge. But we're back. This is going to be at one of the tracks that we haven't covered in the series, so we're going to be heading to Mount Panorama, or the motor racing circuit in Australia called Bathurst. And once again, it's going to be with the Mercedes AMG GT GT3. So yeah, we're entering his time trial challenge. We're going to have a look at the lap, how he approaches it, try and get something from his lines, and then after that we're going to improve. We're going to try and beat Lewis once again and hopefully get into the top 10. See here, it's pretty stacked. A lot of high ranked drivers in that one, but it isn't impossible for sure. We can most likely be able to get into the top 10 with a bit of time and effort. So just go into this now. I'll probably be picking these parts back up once again. We've got 2 more tracks that we need to cover, so we've done everything apart from Bathurst, which we're doing now, Interlagos, and if I'm not mistaken, the final one on the Nürburgring Nordschleife with the Sauber C9. So those last 3, they're going to be definitely something to look forward to, and probably we'll start rounding up the series somewhere there. But right now we're going to have a look and play Lewis's lap just as it is, no commentary at all. See how he gets his lines from head cam, bumper cam, and after that we'll analyze each corner. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, so that was Lewis's lap. Hi Fabro, welcome. Sorry for not saying hi earlier, I just wanted you guys to see the lap without any interruptions. So now I'm going to play this lap bit by bit, see what he does to get the fast time at Bathurst. So we're going to play this first corner through. And coming into turn one, this is a very, very important corner. Let's control for this. You want to really brake as late as you can and hold the inside. If you miss the inside apex, that's where you lose most of your time. Lewis, he brakes right after the 100-meter mark, after his car passes it here on the right. And as if I remember correctly, he's a very big fan of trail braking. And this car really requires that around the certain circuits. But for Panorama, you can pretty much put full brake input before you reach 50 meters, and then that's your cue to start turning in. You can see Lewis, he does that a little bit later, and before he reaches the apex, he takes off the brake. So just to get the car settled down, kind of just flowing towards the apex. And the moment he gets on that apex, you can see your left tires want to be just touching the curb, like he does here. That's pretty much perfect by the maestro. So you just want to touch it a little bit. The moment he gets on that curb, that's when he starts accelerating out. And yeah, I would advise that too. That's usually how you want to go about it. And it's pretty much full throttle all the way out. The Mercedes AMG has a lot of low speed stability, so you can be confident that the car's not going to spin out too often. You still have to look out every once in a while. So on the exit of turn one, you can your outside tires can be right on the edge of this green AstroTurf on the right, or concrete asphalt. You don't want it to go any further because that's going to be scrubbing off some of your exit speed, and it's really just going to compromise your entire run down to turn two. You can use that little bit of patch on the right here, that's just fine. Just make sure that you get back onto the track by the time this is finished. So going down this first pretty much main straight, just dragging through the gears. Want to try and stay out of sixth. There's no time for the car to develop. So coming into turn two. So once again, it's really important to hold the inside right. Be patient. And Lewis takes off and starts braking once again right after the 100-meter mark. This is an uphill section of the track, so you need to bear in mind that braking distances will be a bit shorter. You'll have a bit more grip on the front tires when you carry the load towards that part of the car. You see, once again, he's flat on the brakes. The moment he gets to the 50-meter mark, he's taking off from full input. It goes on again. He's modulating the brake a little bit, but the moment he starts turning in, that's the important thing. You don't want to start turning in with a full brake input on. That's gonna kind of put a lot of strain on the front tires, and it's even with ABS, it's very possible that you can lock up, just have no front end grip whatsoever. So for this corner, you want to have a very early apex, but you want to hold that apex. It's kind of one of these corners where you have to linger on the inside and then wait for the proper moment to start pushing out. So you can see Lewis, he's got a very early apex. He's off the throttle, he's off the brake. He brakes just a little bit more to get the car stopped. He holds the inside, and he notices once the car is able to hold the inside a lot more, that's when he applies the acceleration. You can see he's doing that very gradually, applying more and more throttle. By the time he reaches the end of this curve on the right, that's the moment where you want to start thinking about putting full throttle. You see, Lewis doesn't do it just yet. He hesitates a bit more, but that's leaving us some room to improve from him. And he pushes out. You want to avoid going with your left tires into the wall here, because that's always going to scrub some speed off. And if you have these left tires just on this asphalt between the curb and the wall on the exit, that's fine. That means you're doing something right, that you're maximizing the line and getting the most out of the exit. High turbo power. I'm doing fine, thank you. Had Nations earlier yesterday, and I think it went very well. How about yourself? How are you doing? So coming into turn 2 and 3 and 4, sorry. We'll go through 5. Okay. So after turn 2, this is a very tricky part of the track. Many people can go wide here. Many people can go too early and hit the wall. It's very imperative that you keep your car to the right side here. Have your right tires as much as possible close to the barrier. You don't want to be hitting it, of course, but if you can have your right tires in between the white line and the barrier, that means that you're doing something right. You're doing good if you're able to put the car there. So coming in, this is kind of a two-stage slowdown, two-stage acceleration as well. See, after Lewis passed the kind of the opening in the barrier on the right, he starts taking off the throttle and he starts turning in. See, he doesn't have the brake on, and realistically you don't want to have that. Only when he reaches the apex, so this first shallow left, that's when he puts the brake on, and you can see he's right on it. If you go any closer, you're running the risk of hitting the wall. Then again, there are thousands that come into play when you really want to get a good lap around Bathurst. So push the limits, but if you can do what Lewis is doing right now, that's it's just fine. You're not missing too much. You can see he holds the brake a little bit after that, and doesn't really apply any acceleration coming out of turn 3. He just constantly has the brake on, constantly is trail braking. You see he never has it on full pressure, and that's really important going into this section of the track. You want to watch out to not have your right tires on this white on the right side of the white line, because you can see the track is actually banked towards the inside. This means that you've got the car pushing more on an angle, pushing towards the center of the corner, towards the inside of the track, and that's what you want ideally. If you have your right tires on the right side here, you're going to be feeling that the car's going to be slipping away from you. You're not going to be having quite as much grip. The car's going to be sliding out slowly, and you run the risk of hitting the barrier on the right or just missing the apex, and that's going to cost valuable time when you do a lap here, Mount Panorama. No problem, Tabo. I hope you enjoy. That's the most important thing. If this helps you in any way, I'm glad. So coming into turn 4, you can see he actually had the acceleration on very slightly before, but that was because of the gear change to get some engine braking in. And you can see he's still on the brake ever so slightly. The track is going much more uphill now, so he doesn't have to brake as much to slow the car down. Once again, he's putting the car on the absolute limit here. You can go on the inside more, but once again, it's difficult to show it, but there is a kind of a difference in the banking on the part that isn't really considered the track and on the actual track itself. And usually if you stick within the 2 white lines with your inside tires for the most of this track, you're going to be finding that you're going to have a lot of grip. You're not going to be having to worry about anything in terms of instabilities or having to catch the car suddenly. So yeah, once the Lewis passes the apex, he holds it on the inside a bit, accelerates now. Because he's slowed down enough, it's an uphill. There's no need to brake. And this is where you want to be a bit more careful with how much you accelerate. You can see he's still on half throttle input. And the moment the car kind of just jumps out of that inside dip, that's when he applies a bit more throttle. See, he's already approaching full input. The thing is that if you were to accelerate earlier than him, you can see how there's just this kind of small dip that you come out of. If you accelerate earlier, the rears might start spinning a bit, but you won't sense it. By the time the car kind of jumps out of that inside dip, you're going to lose a little bit of rear end grip, and that wheel spin that you've got, that's immediately going to start manifesting into a lot of loose rear end, and that's going to be hard to catch considering this is an uphill. And yeah, coming into turn 5, you don't want to go too much on the right here. If you get the last 2 corners right, and it means you can take this flat out. If you can't take this right corner flat out, it means you've done something wrong. You haven't approached this corner properly, or you're simply carrying too much speed. So yeah, staying in 3rd, keeping on the inside. Don't go too much on the curb. And they're heading into turn 6. This is a very important corner to get right. Pretty much makes up 20% of the lap if you get that right. So coming into this, you want to hold the inside. You want to hold it to the left to maximize your out and out. And as soon as you start approaching the corner and you reach about halfway on the track, like when your car is in the middle of it, that's when you start taking off a little bit, get the car turned a bit better. And on this part, it is very risky, but it is very high reward to use the curb on the inside right. If you go too much, you're going to hit the inside wall here, you're going to bounce off, hit the other wall, and that's your lap pretty much over. But if you can get onto this curb, it's not so severe. It's not quite so bulged as some other curbs. So it means you can use it a bit more aggressively. And if you can have your inside tires right on the curb here without touching the wall, that would be great if you can do that. Through this corner, you basically don't want to take off the throttle. You want to have it always engaged, keeping the engine motor ready to go once you clear it. You can see after he gets off the curb, Lewis actually almost reaches full throttle. He almost pushes all the way, but he keeps that little bit of throttle off in reserve, so he doesn't hit the wall here on the left. It's important if you can go on the curb with your inside tires and not hit the wall, it means you're doing everything right, and you will be gaining a lot of time by maximizing the line. See, by the time he reaches that kind of turn 6, it's a really small turn, you can pretty much flat out the rest of it. It's over the hill. Into Skyline. Sorry, yeah, Brock Skyline. This is a tricky one. You need to learn how to be not too greedy. Coming into turn 7, you want to be close to the outside barrier. Definitely don't want to hit it, that's for sure. But once you kind of put your car to the right and you feel like you've gotten the closest you can to the barrier, that's when you want to take off the acceleration. That's when you want to get the car a bit more under your own control, because if you keep accelerating, it's just going to understeer off. So taking off a bit of throttle, it's going to help. Staying in 4th. And once again, you can see he's just always keeping the throttle on at this point. Never taking it quite off. Still going, still going. And also, you want to be wary of this inside curb. Again, it's not quite so bulged as you would see on other tracks, so you can go over it, but don't use the inside tires on the grass. It's very risky. you can throw your car just all the way to the right, you're going to hit the barrier for sure. And that's your lap over. Yeah, hi Zico, welcome. So yeah, after he passes the apex turn, you can start accelerating a bit more, pretty much full throttle. And yeah, this is the very important part of the track. If you can manage to go full throttle through that last corner and not hit the barrier on the right, you're good. You're on for a good lap for sure. So now coming into this one, it's very fast left-hander. You want to put keep your car on the right, but not too much, because it's going to jump the curb. And even though it's not quite so bulged, it's going to put the right side of the car in the air, and that's very very unreliable. You could just come down, you'll feel like you're understeering, but there's actually zero grip because the tires are in the air. And the moment you come back down, you're going to have an unexpected abundance of grip, and you're just going to turn in all of a sudden and hit the inside barrier. So you want to try and minimize that as much as possible. So avoid using the curb here on the right on entry. See that? He brakes even a little bit over that small crest. And after that initial brake, there's not really much else that you need to do. You have the acceleration on. Always make sure it's engaged. You want to have a late apex here on the left. Make sure not to grab too much of the inside curb, not to hit the wall, because you've got that very menacing gravel trap waiting for you on the outside right. Or minimally, you're going to go on the grass, and your tires are going to be compromised for the skyline section, the corkscrew. And yeah, on the exit, you want to have your right tires pretty much on the exit. It's acceptable on the grass. You're going to be losing a little bit of time, but it's safe. If you can have your right tires on this curb, that's pretty much perfect. Watch out, sometimes car can suddenly just snap to the left because your rear tire will catch the grass. So be aware of that. Don't risk too much. And where did my display go? Let's try this. Okay, there it is. Coming into skyline, it's gone again. Okay, I'm assuming something's wrong here. Just a second, guys. Okay. So coming into sky, I'm just going to go a little by a bit. The moment you reach this Audi R8 sign above, and it comes somewhere towards the middle of your screen, and you're just about to pass, that's when you want to take off the throttle. You want to make sure that your car was on the left, and by the time you pass this sign, you want to hold the right as much as you can, take off the throttle. Don't be too eager on the brakes, because you're going to slow down early, and then you're going to have a lot of space that you just didn't use going faster. So after passing that right-hander, you can see Lewis there, he goes on the brakes ever so slightly. Half input, he takes off a little bit to get the car maneuvered better. Goes on the left side, on the left curb with his left tires, that's fine. By this point, he's full on the brakes in the middle of the corner, coming into the corkscrew. Staying in third gear is your best bet. At this point, you want to have the right side of the car as close as you can to this side of the track. You can see Lewis does it very well. There is still room to improve, and you can see it's like what, 20, 30 odd centimeters there, but it's still, there is a gap, so you can definitely improve. But the Maestro has still done it well. So early entry, early apex. When he reaches the apex, he takes off the brake. He still hasn't got an accelerator. Now he does actually, but he didn't have acceleration on for a split second to get the car rotated better. You can see he really is getting close to the barrier here on the right, so you can get the left of the corkscrew properly. Brakes a little bit more, gets the car ready, and the moment you start turning to the left, you feel like you actually have to brake. You have to fight that urge to do so. You actually take off and you need to accelerate. And if done right, you can actually get the car a lot more to the left here. You can see Lewis, he's pretty much bang on with actual track limits that you would see in real life. That's perfect. But if you can get your left tires over the grass here on this part of the track, that's where you can gain a bit more time. On the exit of that, you want to just accelerate. Be wary of this right curb here. If you go on it too much, it's gonna spin the inside of the car, unsettle it, and there's a good chance you're gonna spin out, lose control, hit the outside barrier, just lose time in general. It's very risky, very little reward if you get it right, but when you do get it right, it feels good, for sure. So after the corkscrew, there's this downhill section of corners, very difficult to get right. You have to consider the fact that you actually have longer braking distances because it's a downhill. And for this first part, you can pretty much flat out. See, he does that. And the moment you clear that left, you take off. You want to hold the inside right here, and you really want to hug it as much as you can. You'll see the car goes off to a little bit to the left. You should do that because the track actually straightens up a little bit, and then you want your car to be as close as you can to the barriers here on the right under braking. Remember to brake early. If you brake it just a little bit late, those small changes in braking distance are actually a lot bigger when it comes to downhill. The front tires are going to have too much load on them. They're going to be really lacking a lot of grip. I'm going to find the front just skidding off without any responsiveness whatsoever. So take your time through this left-hander. Off the brakes early, on the acceleration early as well. Be very careful. Look, this is the limit of what you can do. You could probably go a little bit closer, but my word, that is close. That's on the verge of hitting the barrier. And yeah, if you can do that, that's definitely on for a good lap. Let's just have a look at that closer. Yeah, if you go closer, you're gonna lose your side mirror. So you might be lighter for the back straight. You may be a bit more aerodynamic, but yeah, better don't risk it, don't hit the wall. Keep the inside as much as you can, and be patient. You accelerate very carefully, very patiently. When you start going out wide, that's when you need to put a bit more trust in the car. You need to know that you can accelerate more, and yeah, just be careful not to hit the right side of the right barrier here, because all that hard work that you've done over the mountain and those previous corners, it's all going to come to nothing if you hit the barrier on the right. The exit speed is going to be compromised. You're not going to have any top end whatsoever, and that's going to be the lap over. So coming down here, just drag through the gears. On the uphill, you want to change into 6 a little bit earlier. Don't drag it like Lewis. You can do that, it's not bad, but this is another way of improving the lap. Coming in the second last corner. On entry towards the second last sector complex of corners, you maybe want to have your car a bit on the left here, so that you can straight line this shallow right as much as you can, carry a bit more speed. but the way Lewis has done it is just fine. Don't go over the curb on the right, it's just going to throw your car off. There's no point in doing it. And coming into this second last complex of corners, you want to start braking just before the 150 meter mark, or right at it if you're really confident that you're going to make the corner. Just brake 150 meter mark. You want to go pretty much full input on the brakes for most of the braking zone, and then as soon as you get close to the 50 meter mark, like the first and second corner, you want to start taking off the brake ever so slightly. Initiate trail braking. Try and get the car to move towards the left, towards the apex. And this corner here, this is one, before you reach the apex you take off the brake, obviously. This is one where you can actually go on the curb with the inside left tires, and it is possible to save some time. Like, it will throw the car a little bit, but that's actually getting it to maneuver better. It will rotate it more so you can accelerate earlier and get the next corner better. But if you want to play it safe, aim to have your left tires on this kind of worn out piece of asphalt here on the inside. Don't go too much on the curb. Just play it safe and keep the inside tires here. Once again, be patient on the throttle. Don't accelerate too early because you're going to have that grass on the outside right ready to greet you. But still, you need to make sure you accelerate fairly early. You don't want to hold it too much to the left because you're going to compromise. There's more gain if you accelerate earlier than there is to hold the left, hesitate, and then accelerate later. So yeah, for this part you want to hold the inside right. Don't go on the grass with the inside tires. On the exit, have your left tires, if anything, have them on the curb. That's the limit. If you can have your left tires on the curb, that's fine. If you put them on the grass, once again, you're going to be losing a bit of exit speed. It's coming into the last corner. So yeah, Lewis actually hesitates there a little bit. But yeah, that's once again, that's just another place we can improve on. So he starts braking just as he gets to the 100 meter board, and it is very, very important that you have the car on the right side of the track here. You'll see Lewis, he has the car on the right. There's still a little bit more that you could put. Again, that's another place for us to try and beat him. And you want to be full on the brakes pretty much all the way. The moment you reach this lamp post on the right, yeah, that's when you want to start taking off. It's kind of a... yeah, it's the second lamppost. So you pass this first one, you reach the second one, that's when you start taking off the brake and you start turning in. See, as he approaches the apex, he's off the brakes before he reaches the apex. Starts applying the throttle, gets an early exit, and this last corner is very, very important. If you don't get this exit right, it's a high chance you're going to go on the grass with your right tires. So you're not going to lose too much time, but it's still going to be slower. If you are too eager, you're going to hit the barrier, and all that hard work that you've done over the 2-minute lap is going to come to nothing. So yeah, you want to have your right tires at most on the grass. Preferably have them on the curb like Lewis has done. But if you're on the grass, you're not going to be losing too much either. You've got that asphalt on the right there that's going to save you afterwards. You're not going to have to struggle getting back on track. Yeah, that's a lap of Mount Panorama from Lewis Hamilton's perspective with our analysis. Now we're going to try and beat his time again. And after that, we're going to try and get into the top 10 Preferably top 5, even top 3. Maybe, you never know. We could even get a world record if we try hard enough. So yeah, brake balance somewhere on 0 plus 1. It's kind of down to personal preference at this point. And I forgot how much this car understeers without the BOP on. So you need to be careful about that. See, not too great. We are a bit rusty since the last time we've driven this car. Hit the wall. It's so easy to make a mistake on this track. Considering understeers a little bit, you need to get used to it. Yeah, on the uphill, change a bit earlier into 6th, somewhere around 254, 253. It's a good time to brake.
No way. How did you do that?
Well, I'm not quite sure about that one. Maestro wasn't a great lap. Yep. There it is. That's what happens when you're too eager on the throttle. bad. Yeah, this isn't an easy challenge to beat. Hitting the wall is not what you want to do. Yeah. So we beat him now.
No way. How did you do that?
But there's definitely a lot more room to improve. It's far from a perfect lap. So we need to improve about half a second if we want to get to the top 10. Hit the wall. and we went off onto the grass, so double whammy, not exactly what you want to do. Yeah, we're braking late.
No
Too
way.
many places.
How did you do that?
So, definitely a bit more room to improve. And then we hit the inside left corkscrew, so only by a little bit, but that's enough to just completely slow the car down. Terrible entry. No. The first corner really is the one that makes or breaks your lap. This is exactly what we need. Yep, so that's top 10.
No way. How did you do that?
That wasn't a bad lap. Wasn't a bad lap at all. So let's see where that puts us. So we are 6th in the world. We are behind Williams Adam, Akagi, PR1 Josete, Taro Adam, and Heaven. We'll give this another, I don't know, we'll give it another 7 minutes worth of tries. And if we can't improve, it's fine. We got onto the top 10. That was kind of the mission that we set ourselves up for every part. And we achieved that, but I'm not happy. I'm satisfied with the result, but I want more. So we'll see what we can do. Yeah, and that was not a good first corner. Ooh, scrape the wall slightly. There it is again, so not too good. Mount Panorama really teaches you about the fine line between a good lap and disaster. Because if you were to do some of these mistakes in real life, there's no going back, there's no runoff. At least very little runoff. So you can't put too much trust that you're going to make it if you push over the limit. That's something you need to be aware of. Yeah, no. Thanks, Herman. I mean, that's a really big compliment. Thank you. I still think I have a lot to learn. Definitely not the best that I will be, for sure. Still a lot of self-improvement. Oh, yep. This is what I meant to brake just a bit too late. And all that hard work is just gone right there. try and make it up, but it's going to be difficult. Instead in the last corner, that's not going to help either. So I say we can definitely
No
get...
way. How did you do that?
We can definitely get a 2.1, like a 2 flat 0.1. But you have to line everything up nicely. Yeah, what the top guys are doing, like 2.0 flat and 159 by the Japanese driver. TRL, those are just, that's perfect lap. Oh no, yeah, that was the wall. We were close. We'll give it another 2-3 tries and call it a day. Turned in too early, coming into turn 5. Made us hit the wall in turn 6. No. Hi PG. We're just finishing up. I'm gonna have another try or two and call it a day. Yeah. Can definitely get a 0.1, but I'll probably need to do that when I have a bit more time. We're chasing the top 10. PG. We beat Lewis. Trying to see what we can do better. We tapped the inside right. So it's definitely possible to improve, but it's imperative that you don't hit the walls. That's the important thing. If you can put the car between the two walls on the very limit of it, that's where you're going to be finding time. But yeah, for now we're sixth in the world. I'm pretty happy with that, considering this DLC has been out for a while now, so people have been able to give it a pretty decent shot. But yeah, I'm satisfied with the goal. We've at least achieved that goal. So that's Mount Panorama done. This is part 9 pretty much done, so that's a diamond. Next part we're going to do Interlagos again with the AMG GT3, and then moving on to the very last one, we're going to be heading to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So yeah, with the Sauber C9, that's going to be definitely entertaining. That's going to be interesting to drive, if anything. That's going to be a hard car to tame. A lot of very small finesses that you need to get right in order to be fast with this car. But yeah, when we beat Lewis, what was our time? 34. Yeah, so definitely a lot more pace in that lap. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in to part 9 of the Lewis Hamilton Time Trial Challenge. See you later for the Manufacturer series. Going to be about 9 hours from now, so yeah. It's going to be Dragon Trail Gardens Reverse with Group 3 cars. That's going to be a fun one for sure. So make sure to come back then, tune in, and yeah, I hope this helped you guys, maybe gave you a suggestion how to approach Bathurst in general. But until next time, have a nice evening and afternoon or morning wherever you may be, and driving with the best.